deep dive into late shallow thoughts.
Welcome to the Lou Lee Podcast. Today we got a special episode. We'll be deep diving into Lee's shallow thoughts. I'm your host, Lee, your co-host, Lou.
That's me, Lou. Brr, 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 brr.
A deep dive into late shallow thoughts.
So today we're joined by our friend Dan Rankine. Rankine, how you doing?
I'm feeling good.
We've got this special segment that came up where Lee and I wanted to have more people on the podcast, but we figured it's a little bit difficult to coordinate people coming on. So let's just do some shorter segments, record them, and have some fun doing them. And you came up with this idea, which was deep diving into your shallow thoughts, which I originally thought meant something sexual. Shallow thoughts.
It makes sense.
That was my assumption when it was about Lee.
But it's not. So why don't you explain the premise, Lee? for
Yeah,
us?
so I actually approached you on like more questions that I could ask our guests. And I was like, dude, I think I have like so many questions that I want to ask everyone. And it's like too many. And you like seemed like you didn't really believe that I had a lot of questions. And you're like, well, go write them down and see if you can actually like drum up a lot of questions. And we'll see if we actually need to make a separate segment or if these can actually just be incorporated in our regular podcast. So then I drummed up this list. It's currently sitting at 20 questions. And these are kind of things where I'm just driving around and I have an opinion about something and I just want to know what my friends think. So Rankin is graciously accepted the role of being our first sacrificial friend.
Your first friend.
Friend.
Yeah.
And here we are. So because I have exactly 20 questions, we are going to roll a D20. And
Okay.
we are going to figure out which question to ask them. And I hope you guys like it.
Oh, by the way, that intro song was an AI thing that I surprised you with because
I assumed I couldn't actually make out what it said.
it just says deep dive into Lee's shallow thoughts. It's just amazing that it was that. And I was like, this is hilarious. I have to like use this as an intro. But all right.
That's so funny.
First D20 rolled is an 8.
Question number 8. Okay, Rankin, here we go. So, one of my absolute dreams is to own a small portion of a big piece of land, like about 50 acres or so, at least. And this would be split between all of our friends and some of my family and people who would just go up anytime they would like and to build a house. I would start off like making a small hut that I would be able to just sleep in. And then as like time goes on, I would eventually build it up to have a working oven, maybe some running water for a washroom, and so on and so forth. How does this idea sound to you? And would you join me on this side hobby?
I'm in. My thoughts first go to the fact that you're seeing it as like a survival video game where you break the sticks off of the bush to get the hut. And I'm imagining if you hit the tree enough that you start getting appliances added and the house built up of just like smacking the tree with an axe, then turns into like more complex machinery. And I love that.
Right. Do you think that the world is like Minecraft, and if you put 3 stones and 2 sticks in the right orientation, a full working oven will appear and you can put that into your house?
Do you mean it's not like that? What?
I don't want to shatter this dream. I'm in it with you. We're going to build our Minecraft dream.
No, but
Country home
seriously, like this
together.
legitimately is actually one of my dreams. Just to like have this plot of land that like people would go to pretty much like every weekend, or not every weekend, whenever they had free time. But there'd be so many people that would be on this land that you would like just see your random friends every other weekend or so. And like I'd be building up my house, and one week I would see Husick, one week I would see Marco, and just like all of our friends would just come up and we would just like see what each other is building. And then we kind of just like get to hang out while actually building. Have you seen the YouTube channel Primitive Technology, I think it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like legitimately just that, but with like all of our friends doing their own individual houses.
So everyone who's committed to this project would get their own space for a home on this
Oh, yeah.
community lot.
Oh yeah, it's 50 acres. It's huge.
Don't you think it would be a better idea for all of us to just be building one shelter together? I don't know that we all have the skills to be individually building our own community in the middle
We
of the
for
woods.
sure do.
What
We
a-
for sure do.
What a survival competition of who gets a functional home first, who gets to live.
Right. It should be in the middle of nowhere and you should be dropped out of a plane.
Yeah.
And it should be who can build a house first.
You start building on the first day of summer, and you have to live in it by winter.
Right.
So,
If you don't have shelter by winter, you will die.
and no one else will help you.
I like the competitive nature of this, but
It would turn immediately competitive.
I mean, we can't.
With
we're
our group of
not-
friends,
Part of the rules apparently is we're not allowed to help each other, right? So
obviously.
yeah, my house will be bigger and
that
better.
part of the
And
rules?
you said we're not allowed to help. You said we're gonna.
Did I say
everyone's gonna
that?
do it.
You said you'd go and you'd see your friend building their house. I'm not a there's not a competitive bone in my body. It would take 0.5 seconds for half of our group of friends to be like, I'm having the best property. I'm actively sabotaging what you're building so that mine will be therefore that much more superior.
that's hilarious. I don't know. I legitimately would actually love this.
What intrigues you about this?
I think it's like the combination of building something feels so good with like doing it with friends, and then just like the opportunities of just hanging out. I think like those three things that like I just love are just all like amalgamated in this one pipe dream of
Yeah, but it's-
primitive housing.
But that's extreme. That's an extreme way of us just building something together. Like you've already told me you need to build a shed and you want to finish your basement, but you'd rather go to the middle of the forest than build
Well-
a house that it's already difficult enough to coordinate us building something together. Do we need to do it in the middle of the
Yeah,
forest?
but what if you had less
Right.
and it was way more remote and
Right.
inconvenient to build?
Yeah,
Right.
it's so long to drive to.
Right.
I think Lou's onto something. I like your idea and I would support it. I think starting with a community shelter of we all work together, of whoever's in this to buy this property together. Step one is the first building we all put up at the same time. And then when we've accomplished whatever the first place is, then you can go off other parts of the lot and put up your own
I
establishment.
mean, that's not a bad idea because at least then there's shelter while you're building.
Yeah, but the problem is like I build all the beds, and like Evans doesn't help out at all. Like he doesn't get his bed, even though because I've built it.
This is what I'm talking about, the competition. You'd immediately be doing the calculations in your head. You're like, those beds?
It's not a
were mine."
competition. It's like he has to earn his place in the house.
It's a
If this is, like-
competitive spirit, which is going to result in somebody not being allowed to sleep.
No, I would let him sleep. I would just be like cheesed at him the whole time.
His bed would be slightly more uncomfortable than everyone else's bed.
Well, it would just be in between me and Lou, like how Rankin did it at Tremblant.
Right.
Oh,
The
just
Snore
the-
Festival.
Surround sound of snoring.
Listen. Sometimes you just got to eat it.
Okay, so that was question number 8. So it was a consensus, right? Or I mean, unanimous.
We're all agreed
We're
we're,
all
going to
in.
buy a
We're
50
gonna
acre
buy- I
I
property
guess we're
together.
doing this now. Yeah. Let's call our friends and let them know that we're building.
No joke. This is a literal dream of mine,
Clear your schedule.
even though it's quite silly.
Well, I mean, okay, before we move on, I think the root of what you really want here is to just hang out with your friends
Yes.
and do stuff together.
Yeah, but like it feels so good to build something
Sure.
and then use it.
Sure.
Like if the best thing or like the most advanced thing that we have is like a stone oven, like anything we cook in there is going to be amazing. The whole experience is going to be so good and rewarding. And I think like because you start off with like a mud floor, once you change that mud floor into anything else, it's going to feel very rewarding. Your bed is going to be a lean-to to start, and then it's going to turn into like, you know, a thatch bed, and then it's going to be like a wooden bed
Yeah.
with like mattress or
I
whatever.
get it. I get why you like the idea of it. It's just so impractical that like there's so many other more practical things to achieve the same goal that it actually just doesn't make any sense.
Also, are you committed to like the primitive beginnings? Like you have to start with like the mud
Oh,
and then
yeah.
the thatch.
Is there no
and
tools?
and then a mattress?
No,
because
no.
at what point are you
No.
just then
Can Evans
buying
come in with
things?
like the full DeWalt
Yes.
range of tools, and he can. Oh,
Yeah, he totally could.
Because if it does end up in mattress, could we skip the mud? Mud?
Can we just bring a
sleeping
mattress?
and bring a mattress and a bed frame?
Yeah, it just quickly shows who everyone is.
let's just buy a
And how
house
lazy
and
we
live
all
in a
are.
house together.
I like the substitution of we put together a shared community building, but maybe we purchase like objects that fit into it that are pre-built or fabricated, and
So that we can actually enjoy
You don't
it.
have to cut them out of the trees or the ground.
Well, I guess part of my dream is like everyone is as committed as I am, which is, like Lou said, obviously very unrealistic.
I give it until you present the idea to your wife to show that there's how much commitment everyone else has.
Zero.
Right.
Zero.
I'm going to go away for 5 months of every year so that I can do this with my friends. Okay. All right, sweet. I'll give you another D20 here. 17.
Oh, one of my recent thoughts. Oh, okay. So
Shallow thoughts.
this is, yeah, one of my recent shallow thoughts. And this is very shallow, actually, because it's not even my own idea. I listened to some podcast, and then there was an advertisement about this other podcast that's exactly this segment. And it's called, actually, I don't even want to promo it. I'm not even going to say its name.
Yeah. Don't give them any.
But like they just take famous people and ask them random questions.
We're way bigger than their podcast,
yeah,
so we
so-
don't want to. Yep.
I'm very famous.
So here it is. A stolen question. A stolen shallow thought. What's an ordinary place to you, but feels extraordinary because of what happened there? I actually messed that question up. Let me redo this. What's an ordinary place, but feels extraordinary to you because of what happened there?
Okay, mine goes two places. For personal backstory, the parking lot in downtown Burlington, which is for everyone in the world a perfectly normal parking lot, but for a pack of 16-year-old boys was the site of a SWAT takedown due to misuse of toy guns and a lifetime of stories. So knowing all the shit that happened, excuse my French, at the parking garage, but where my mind also went was something like getting on an airplane. It sometimes occurs to me, like at a random point in the flight, how normalized the whole process has become, but how insane it is that this
Right.
100, 200 ton pile of metal full of like people and everything is up in the air and in a completely normalized way just keeps
Extremely safe.
extremely safe, gets hundreds of people anywhere in the world, and it happens many, many times a day, but the whole process is extraordinary.
That's a
You-
good answer.
You shouldn't think about it while you're experiencing it.
When you think about when you go back to the parking garage, does that bring up any feelings of any extraordinary feelings? Does it feel strange to be there? Do you remember? I mean, obviously you must remember what happened, but like where you were, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do
Do you relive it when you go there?
Can you give us the backstory? Like what happened? I know what happened.
So a pack of 16-year-old boys,
Who?
Matthew Lee, myself, Daniel Rankine, Chris Lawson, Marco Brunelleschi, Tien Vu, and Mike Chervo were partaking in an attempt to film some amateur martial arts action movies with Chris Lawson's very cheap camcorder. This is predating phone cameras by like a good decade or 15 years.
Yeah, this is 2002, 2003.
2002, 2003, roughly. And so our good friend Tien Vu, now a police officer in Burlington, shouldn't be revealing that, but I am going to, had quite a collection of very realistic looking toy guns and cap guns, like metal. And some would even say that in your hands, they look pretty real. So using this supply of toy guns, we decided we'd go to downtown Burlington one summer evening and we would film some action movie, which never happened. What did happen is we took the van up to the very top roof of the garage and we hung out for about an hour because we were in the process of prepping to film. As you know, you do in the big pictures, you got to get ready. And I'm probably mistaken on the number, but the way I remember it is that during the hour that we were on that roof, hanging out with these guns, just fooling around, not really achieving anything, I believe the police got somewhere between 10 to 15 calls about us from the 2 apartment buildings that look down on the garage, which resulted in them assembling the what's it called in Canada, the Emergency Task Force, our version of American SWAT, to come up, and from they had to get them from other police stations to basically surround the garage, and they had to have a cop car per level of this 4-story garage until finally the final cop car arrived on the roof. And at the same time that it arrived, another officer came up the elevator with a shotgun to try to coincide so that they would effectively pincer us and surprise a group of teenagers with toy guns with quite aggressive takedown. The end result of which was they had us sitting on that roof for about an hour while they took our IDs, realized that we were children, and if they were to write a report about it, would be in a lot of trouble. So that
When you say children, you guys were like
16.
16, right?
so
And one 15-year-old.
15-year-old, yes. I think they realized with the guns being fake and us being 16 that they didn't want to deal with the consequences of a report or anything potentially going out to the media. So they just sat us up there while they figured out what to do about the situation, and got our information, called our parents. And then an hour later, we were, by this point, the fear of being taken down by police very aggressively was over. We were going to be escorted in the van to the police station. So we all got in Matt Lee's van, I believe. And we were then excited because we're like, oh, we're going to get a police escort. This is huge. It was at that point we realized,
Roll the camera.
roll the camera. The police station was right beside the parking garage. So they thought that we had been preparing to assault the police station that entire time, which is why they took so long to gather their forces to deal with us. And then we went to the station and they tried to scold us in front of our parents, which didn't work for anyone's parents except for one, Mike Shervo. Everyone else's, I think, felt bad for their children. And to top it off, when they tried to get Tien Vu's parents to surrender the fake guns to them, they laughed in the officer's face and said, give them back, they belong to us. So a little cherry on top at the end of like, there's no
a reminder, this is 2002.
This is 2002.
When the world was a very different place.
It would have resulted, even a few years later, probably in a pack of dead 16-year-olds and no podcast happening today.
If I remember correctly, as well, I think like that day or the day before, there was like some incident in Toronto with a hostage, and I think the SWAT team had to shoot, which is like one of the first events or something like that happened. So like everyone was already heightened in their like awareness levels and all that stuff. So getting a call of people on a roof with guns and stuff, just like
getting a call where
escalated
they're
quick.
adjacent to your police station.
I forgot about that
the police
detail,
station is there?
that they were
So
like kind of nervous about that. But actually, your memory of it's actually pretty far off, from my memory at least. We actually filmed a movie. Like the idea was to go up every level of the parking garage, and we filmed a fight like going up a parking garage, and we did film it.
I didn't think we had any footage in the garage.
And then we got to the top, and then we're like, okay, well, we need to finish it here. And we were not there for very long until like the SWAT was called. It was quick. And yeah, we didn't know that the police station was directly beside the parking garage.
So
we had no idea.
there was a bit of a delay, because what we learned I want to say 6 months later, is due to the dad of one of our friends being involved. Marco's dad worked waiter at a restaurant where in Oakville, where the police and chief of police and politicians like to dine. Very fancy Italian place. Mm-hmm. Overheard an officer telling his fellow police officer friends that they had to wait to get their sniper up into the one of the apartments. They had to get them to sign an agreement. Part of the delay was this officer went up and had to get these people to agree to open their door and let them use their balcony.
I do remember that.
And saying that if we had in any way shown any threat to the officers as they approached us, this guy had instructions to shoot us. And it was apparently a very close call because apparently, I think it was, the phone calls they were getting were describing it as me. I had an afro at the time and I'm very tall, but we were being quite erratic with the guns according to the phone calls they were getting.
Sure.
But yes, we learned much later that apparently the sniper had been placed and that was part of the delay.
I think the biggest thing that like really annoyed me and bothered me was there was like a newspaper article the following Monday that came out, and it said that no guns were pulled on us, and that
they knew about it.
What?
So the officers were on site while we were filming.
Oh, they said we were filming some footage for not for a school project or any apparent like permitted video.
Yeah, right. Which it wasn't.
And
they said the gun
and that no guns were pulled on us, and
that they had been on site when we were filming.
Yeah,
which
has
all
the
of that
article.
is a lie, right?
Yeah.
Like they weren't on site while you were filming. They came due to calls, and they did pull guns, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
Like I said, it was to avoid the paperwork complication of pulling guns on teenagers and involving
well, there would have been a
Canadian
lot of
SWAT.
paperwork if one of you pointed a gun at an officer and that sniper shot, and that would have been.
Mm-hmm. I am downplaying how terrified the opening minutes were when they took us down. Absolutely fearful during those moments, but they kept us sitting on that roof for an hour, just trying to call parents and figure out what to do with us. So it kind of took away the fear. Well, we're just have nothing to do but sit.
Right. And also, like, get back in your van and drive over to the police station because you're in trouble. You're like, okay.
Yeah,
I remember grabbing the camcorder and recording myself, and I was fucking pissed. I was like, these cops are fucking pieces of shit. They like pointed so many guns at us. This dude was just like cocking and recocking his shotgun.
Oh yeah, he dropped so you may not know, when you cock a shotgun, it loads a new shell in. So he dropped, I think, 2 shells on the ground in order to intimidate us by cocking the shotgun.
I
over
remember
our
that
heads.
specifically pissed Marco off a lot.
Yeah, because it's stupid. And like,
Yeah.
to a normal person, it sounds like, holy shit, this guy's getting even more ready to shoot us. To the person who knows how guns work, you're like, you're wasting ammunition. I don't know what you're doing here.
I was both knowing that and still scared that he's taking the time to do this.
Right.
He's wanting to intimidate us, and it was working pretty well.
Do you have the footage? Any of the footage?
That's what I was curious of. I don't know who has it. If it's Lawson's camcorder, he might, but he's moved so many times that like
Maybe not.
there's almost no way he does. But yeah, you'd see some really funny like amateur
I don't
martial
remember
arts.
I
us
assume
getting
you
any
didn't.
filming.
You wouldn't have captured the police coming in on you and stuff.
We weren't filming
Feels
at the
like-
time
yeah,
that they
probably
came
not.
in. We were done at that moment.
So, anyways, have you? I assume you've been back to the garage since then.
Yes. Where this was leading was I told my wife the story, and then, you go downtown because downtown Burlington is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to relay. I was like, oh, it was here that it happened. Let's go to the roof. The immediate cold water of, I don't care. I just want to go get ice. Like, you've told me this story. We don't need to go to the roof where it happened. Thank you, dear. Like, that's nice for you.
Okay.
It was immediately like, okay, let's put it in perspective. It's an old story. She doesn't need to go walk up and see the roof where it happened. I'm like,
Okay, fine. But
that's
how,
a good perspective.
How do you feel about going back there? Does it bring back anything? You said it was pretty scary when it initially happened.
Yeah, it brings it, like, I have a very crystallized, I think the moments leading up to the police getting us is hazy. Because like Lee is saying, my perspective might differ. But yeah, it's like those moments when they were arresting us are like, whoa, intense emotions. So, and then you're like, oh, there's the apartments that watched us and made the many calls to the police thinking we were going to go shoot something up. Yeah, I have the emotion, but my wife helps put it in perspective. It doesn't matter.
It's not that extraordinary of a place.
I would actually love to hear the 911 calls because, like, I don't know. It's so hard to imagine that someone would call so frantically when they just see like 6 kids
Yeah, but
like
we didn't
play
look like
fighting,
kids.
play fighting and filming it and then just sitting around after talking about it. Because we were like choreographing everything,
Sure.
going through it, and then like doing the guns and like knocking it out. And like it was all like,
Yeah, there were there were descriptions given. The police, in the process of having us sitting up there, said that they were receiving calls that it looked like we were
doing a drug deal.
prepping to go and attack.
Oh, like you
They
were
thought
planning
this
a
was
bank robbery
like
or
you're
something.
positioning, like that's how they thought they interpreted the scene of like, there's the police station down there at the bottom of the garage.
Interesting.
They thought it was practice before we drive down.
I mean, that's a good perspective. The other thing too is like, you're saying that these guns look realistic. I know it's far away, but like,
Yeah, I think
you're
some of them
looking as
actually,
close as you can. Someone pulls out binoculars and looks and is like, man, those look like fucking real guns.
they did. I
And
don't even think they
so-
actually had the orange
Right.
end. Or the orange
That's
tips.
probably enough to put that level of alert
alertness. Yeah.
out there that the police are like, we have to take this very seriously. If they have real guns, even if they're just fucking around,
That's
like
true.
you can't just, you know.
But yeah, extraordinary.
That
What an
is extraordinary.
extraordinary place.
Yeah. That in planes.
Planes. Because of what happened to you there.
Yeah, I'm a man of
You
contrast.
just moved in the air
Yeah.
in a metal box.
Those are 2 good answers.
Very cool. That's going down memory lane.
You need another D20?
I do. Okay, last one.
8.
That was the acreage and the building.
Oh,
Reroll.
17. Is that the same one?
Reroll.
Yeah. That's the extraordinary places.
14.
Wow. This is very simple. If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
I would live.
I guess this is like if you could live anywhere under any circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, under any circumstance, I think I would enjoy Europe. Probably where in Europe, if money is no object. I think somewhere like Denmark or Switzerland, I think might be pretty awesome. Near the Alps. Get like a sick ass mansion cottage that's up on the Alps, and my way in and out is my own personal helicopter. That's how I get down to where I need to be.
That'd be sweet. I'm trying to think of like my own answer. I think it's like,
You said it, community house that we built out of
Right.
mud and sticks.
In the forest.
I don't know if I
somewhere.
would live there.
Deep in a forest.
I'm like actually scared of wild animals.
This could put a big damper on your plan for us to get 50
Right.
acres in the remote wilderness.
Well, I sleep in a tent, like in the woods. I think like sleeping in a shelter would be even better. Question mark. I think. I think I'd actually just like live in Burlington. I think that's it.
Just
Just like
if nothing,
even
if there's
closer to
no
family and friends.
object, no money's no object, you can.
Well, think of it. The circumstance
biggest-
of this is like your friends and family could move wherever you wanted to.
Oh,
Where
that's
would you
weird
live?
though.
No, but
That's so bizarre.
if your answer is I want to live in Burlington to be closest to my friends and family, it's like, well, wherever your friends and family are is where you'd want to be. So let's take that out of the equation. Where would you want to live? Like, what's the?
I think
great
it would
place
definitely be in Canada. I actually love Canada too much to leave here. I do like traveling, like outside of Canada, but I think it would be somewhere in Canada. I don't really know. Because not much would change. I think, yeah, if I just lived in Burlington, it would just be closer to mine and Crystal's work, and then just even closer to friends and family. I think that's all I really care about.
Man of
So.
simple needs. Just wants to build
Oh yeah,
a shelter with his bare hands
in Burlington.
in Burlington We'll find
That's
you
in his parents' backyard.
We're gonna appropriate one of the parks in Burlington, and then there'll be like a thin layer of trees around us as we attempt to build a house
Right, out of mud
Yeah.
and sticks.
Ireland Park.
Yeah,
Just like, what is that in the trees there?
Don't look too close.
Don't go there. There's a crazy Asian man who lives in the woods there.
occasionally just dozens of his friends show up and participate.
They're building
And compete.
something.
There's so many DeWalt tools there. Like I brought it.
Yeah, dude, what's that sound of drilling and hammering in the woods at night?
What
They
about
got
you,
some
Lou?
good equipment though, so they really know what they're doing. I mean, the first answer I think is just like yours. Like my priority of where I want to live right now is closest to friends and family. That's why we live here in Burlington. But if I take that out of the equation, that like Europe is intriguing. Europe is a really great place. There's a lot of culture there. There's a lot of like really awesome cities and stuff there. I don't know if I would want to live there. I would love to like live around the world, like have a home here, have a villa in Italy, and have a chalet in the Swiss Alps. And just like throughout the year, it's like, all right, spending a few months over in this house and a few months over in this house and whatever. If money was no object and I could just do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted.
As we've been saying it, I've realized I would absolutely want to come back home here. I think the like multiple villas or multiple homes wherever you want it to be in the world would be ideal. You're right, but you'd always want to come back to this home base, I think.
Or at least have the option to
Yeah,
be like very close to it. Yeah. Well, now you just need multi-millions of dollars to do this.
Easy.
think of the savings when we build our own home out of nothing.
If we just
If
build,
you just have mud huts all around
Yeah.
the
We'll
world,
be making money on this.
it's huge. It's huge.
People have been wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars putting together homes or buying a pre-built home. I think we're onto something here.
yeah. So this is a deep dive on Matt Lee's shallow thoughts. Rankin, what do you think?
I feel that the pool was deeper than I expected.
The pool of questions?
Pool of questions, the pool of Matthew Lee's thoughts.
Whoa.
I have to say, obviously, we didn't go through your full D20s. I'm happy, but a tiny bit disappointed of the lack of sexual content.
Yeah,
Given that this
actually-
was Matthew Lee's shallow thoughts,
I
I
don't
assume that
think-
it's the deepest part of the pool where Lee's sexual perversion lives.
I don't think there's a single sexual question here. I don't
Not the man I knew.
think I want to ask you guys that stuff because I just already do. Right?
It's pretty day to day.
So, I mean, when we're camping, it's just like I'm always talking about something sexual. It always just happens.
Not to give the wrong
So,
impression of everyone who's thinking about what we
11
do while we're
dudes in
camping.
the woods.
Yeah,
Listen, just there's a bunch of dudes just out in the woods. Sometimes
Things
gotta-
get sexual.
things get sexual. You got to talk about it. You got to work it out.
backcountry bliss in every way.
Oh, that's so good. I loved that I brought that little Bluetooth speaker and I never used it once until we were packing up to go. And I just on repeat, played Backcountry Bliss. Oh my God.
Did you hear the-
Backcountry?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
I woke up
that AI
Emily
song.
from laughing about the.
Oh, I just
Pure
showed it to him
romance.
actually. I showed you the slideshow.
Yeah.
Is that your first time you heard the song?
Yes.
Yeah.
You need the full experience of the slideshow with the song, and it really ties it all together. Just a bunch of bros having a good time in the woods, and sometimes you get real close.
That's it.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Backcountry bliss
Oh, amazing.
in every way.
Amazing.
This has been another episode of the Luli Podcast. I'll play another AI song to to play us out.
That's pretty good.
A deep dive into lay shallow thoughts. into lay shallow thoughts.